Hello again, Struckpop. Today I'm bringing you another build video, and this one is for Torchlight 3 and the early access version, so it won't be a complete build for level 60, although I've included the level 60 setup, in fact 3 different level 60 setups you might want to go for in the description, along with timestamps for the parts of the build video that you might want to skip to. The build is a sharpshooter summoner build, and one of my viewers requested, or not requested, but asked if I have a build video for this specific setup, and I said I will make one today, which I did. So hope you enjoyed the Onslaught Summoner Sharpshooter build. It's flexible, you can use it to be more defensive by using PP's Curse, or you can use Rizzi's Curse to have more summons, or you can use Revolt to have more spamming of Onslaught. I rely mostly on spamming my Bane active skill, and I strongly suggest playing this with Bane. If not with Bane, then there's a few options regarding whether you want to still have an extra summon or whether you want to still be spamming your Relic skill. But the option, if you want to be spamming the Relic skill but not have the Bane spiders, would be the Spinning Blade setup with the Blood Drinker, and then the other option would be to have an extra Golem summon with the Ice Relic, which of course would make your active Relic skill cooldown a bit longer, so not suggested. So ideally you would be using the Bane on a summoner setup with the spiders. Throughout the footage you would be seeing I have changed my weapon. So right now I think you're seeing something with a slightly stronger weapon, but when you see me having a lower level than 33, or at the beginning of level 33, maybe I would be weaker. And then at the end you probably might see me playing a greatsword which had more damage than this bow, so there is that. So without further ado, let's show you the skill points, then the pet skills, then the relic skills, then the gear, and in the end a little bit more gameplay, including a boss fight, which just warning you, at the very end of the video there will be a boss fight which you might not want to spoil for yourself. So let's move on. So for the skill first, I'd like to say that this build is not a complete build. It's at best a level 31 or 32 setup. In fact, I've got some points that I don't need in there, but for YouTube purposes I'm trying to learn every single skill. So ignore this 1 point here and ignore this 1 point here. And then you have my setup for level 30, I think for 31, or maybe even for 30, because I've got one spend point. So the level 30 setup would be 6 points here, 6 points here, 3 points here, 3 points here, 6 points here, 6 points here. Let's talk about what I think is high priority. While leveling up at the start, you want the first thing is to get Goblin Legion and tight grouping at 1 point. It would really help you early on to have those little goblins and to use tight grouping. Eventually you would want to get Ghost Visage. In fact, I would suggest save points until level 5, and at level 5 put 3 points into Ghost Visage. So at level 2 get the goblins at 1 point, then at level 5 get Ghost Visage at 3 points. Then start getting points into tight grouping for relic active skill cooldowns and just to help you with some damage. Eventually you would move on to get something like 3 levels in the goblins, but probably it's gonna be better to start putting Onslaught. You really want to get a relic skill, and relic active skill that I suggest playing would be Venomous Maw. In fact, I suggest only playing with the Venomous Maw, or if you want to experiment, maybe play with a different setup like the summon on the ice, but the ice one has a bigger cooldown. So the Bane and the Blood Drinker have the lowest cooldowns from all relic weapons, from relics, not relic weapons, pardon me. So you can see right now I got this down to 1.4 seconds. I can get it even lower, like right now it's 0.5 seconds. So it can be pretty low as a cooldown. And this keeps poisoning enemies, which in fact keeps letting us have up to 12 extra spiders, together with our goblins and Shasta. Eventually you would want to get Shasta as soon as you can at level 20. And what I did, I saved up points, so when I was level 20 I could actually get Shasta to level 6 immediately. You might want to do that, or you might want to save some Respectacles, but those Respectacles right now are kind of rare until they bring back Act 3 and the contract system with it. So I didn't start investing into Curse of PP until this one was level 6, this one was level 3, this one was level 3, this one was level 6, and this one was level 6. So let's say those are 12 points, then 15, then 18. And I would probably suggest keep this at level 3, keep this at level 3, keep this at level 6, keep this at level 3, then get Loyal Shasta to level 6, then get this to level 6, and then eventually get this to level 6. And that brings you to like 30, I think, as a level. So as an option you could ignore the Curse of PP, which allows you to regenerate ammo without needing reload. You can go for reload. That's another 30% damage for precision skills. You're losing 30% damage reduction that you apply on the enemies in the form of weakness. You debuff the enemies for 2 times 15% damage done, which means you're a bit more tanky, you can survive more, you can allow to take some hits. If you want to play more of a glass cannon, put 6 points into reload. This gives you extra 30% damage. It also allows you to keep spamming Onslaught a bit more, and that's not bad. Eventually for level 60 I've got multiple setups. I've got a level 60 setup using Curse of PP, I've got one using reload, and I've got one using Rizzi's Fate. Check them there in the description of the video. Hopefully one of those seems like what you might want to experiment with. The build can really melt even the way it is now on Ridiculous, and in the recorded footage I was using those items. In fact this one actually dropped, so I was using this one just to give you some idea. So in the footage I would be using that, and then in the later footage I would probably use this helmet there just to check if it's better, although I probably don't need to due to the gearwork not being on it. So more about items later, let's talk about the pet skills now. And here is the pet skills segment. I would like to say that even though you're using Ghost Visage, you would still probably want to use Deadlier Strikes unless you really have a lot of crit chance from items. If you have like 35, 40, 45, even 50 crit chance from your gear, of course you don't need Deadlier Strikes, and you're probably better off taking something like more block chance for survivability or movement speed to get those speed runs going. Alternatively, if you don't have those auras, of course you can always get that extra defense. But I'm using Deadlier Strikes, I love it. My ideal setup is Deadlier Strikes, Necro Pupper, Healing Friendship, and either Screeching Stun or Pass the Gas if you don't have chance to poison on my gear to get those spiders summoning. So just keep on walking pets, and keep in mind pets are just skins. The skills that come with pets unlock for every other pet you're using, so you don't care what pet skin you're using as long as you put the right skills there. Immobilizing Strike is also nice. I would suggest stay away from Vampirism unless you find out your pet is dying a lot and you want him to survive to keep that aura up. But if you're sending the pet to the town a lot of the time, keep in mind you might really want to make sure you have enough crit chance to make up for not having Deadlier Strikes around you all of the time. So, hope that was clear. Now let's move on to the Relic skills. The Relic skills, as you can see, I would suggest for level 30 to have 10 points here, 10 points here, 10 points here. And the priority would be 10 points here, then go 10 points here after that, and then after that get the 10 points for damage in Venomous Maw. Some of you might want to prefer getting the cooldown maxed out, then getting the damage here maxed out, and then going for the extra spider count. And once you've done 10 10, 10, you start getting 10 here, and eventually for the final 10 points, my suggestion is to get the extra 25% chance for Kiss of Death, for Spread of Death. So that's my suggestion, to have 0, 20, 10, 20 setup. And why do I suggest using Bane? Because Venomous Maw poisons, does decent damage, it's on a short cooldown, 8-second cooldown base, and only one other relic, the Blood Drinker, has this short of a cooldown, and it's the one that can summon up to 12 spiders to stack up with our Goblin and Shasta. And if you're using Rizzi's, not Rizzi's curse, but actually, yeah, Rizzi's Curse. If you're using Rizzi's Curse, you can get Netherrim Caster as well. And if you mark this one out, you can get Ghostly Goblin Brute as well. So there's good things you can combine the Bane with this setup. Now, enough about this, let's talk about the items. So for the items, I was kind of using bad stuff in there while recording, but at least I managed to get something stronger. In fact, I was not using this bow, I was using this staff, and I just put it in my storage as a spare, because some people say if you have wife-bound items and if you have two good ones, keep one spare. I say, yeah, do that if you think you won't be out-leveling it. If you think you'll be out-leveling it, just get rid of the other one before you lose it. Because think of life-bound items as temporary items while leveling up. While you're at max level, which this game right now, it's gonna take forever to reach level 60 until they add high-level content and endgame. While you're leveling, every few hours you would be out-leveling certain items. And that is until like level 35. So I'm saying after level 30 you could actually do this. You could start saving some spare gear in your warehouse, in your storage. Let's talk about stats. You want to get at least 35, 40 or 50 crit chance, and then you want to max out the crit damage, which is 300. 300 is the cap of crit damage. Block chance cap is 40. So if you end up using shield, make sure you're not overstacking block chance from items. Since items are just statistics with this, for this setup, you don't care whether it's two-handed, whether it's bow, greatsword, staff, whether it's one-handed, whether you're using shield or focus is probably the only thing that you would care about. With focus, you get more armor again, meaning more onslaught, and my ideal setup would be one-handed focus or one-handed shield. One-handed shield for more survivability, one-handed focus for more spamminess. We're losing some damage that way, but we can get spam ability, which might be pretty nice to keep proccing stuff, especially if using some of the items which I'm gonna talk about, like the Storm Driver bow. So why do I like one-handed offhand? First, on one-handed offhand you can get much more enchant slots. Think of a one-handed weapon with 3 enchant slots and an offhand with 3 enchant slots versus a two-handed weapon with 3 enchant slots. Yeah, the two-handed weapon would give you slightly better stats on the enchant slots, but it's still not gonna be as strong as having 6 one-handed / offhand enchant sockets. Competing versus that. The damage is better on two-handed, but overall I think once you have one-handed plus offhand enchanted, you might end up having much better results, especially knowing that you can get so much more stats like crit chance, crit damage, and other things like that. You really want the faster cooldown for relic active skills stacked. Right now, without it, I'm at 1.4 seconds. With that 11.7%, I get that to 0.5, and you can see how nice this gets. You can kind of keep spamming that, get the pets, and you can keep spamming stuff. And if I curse them, I can actually get them to return ammo. So it's pretty fun. You can use Scroll of Unbinding on some items. I just use one on that gauntlet, because it's worth keeping. It gives me faster cooldown for relic active skill, it gives me gear work and HP. So I thought, alright, let's use a Scroll of Unbinding. I had like 3 of those, so I used one of them. As I said, it's a level 30 something item, so It's not like I'm gonna play that character now, because I'm too busy leveling the other two that I haven't leveled up yet. But eventually I'm gonna start playing this hero again, and there's gonna be some nice stuff going on, you know, when leveling those. For the pets, I'm gonna suggest get block chance and then some crit chance, crit damage. It doesn't matter, because this is the only thing that's gonna boost your pet damage, the tier 2 bonus, and this only boosts the pet, not the summons, so keep that in mind as well. Let's talk about unique items you might want. Unique item like this is great. It definitely is great, and having the triple set bonus would be pretty nice. Something like that is not so bad. It's not so bad, but it's not the best bonus, but it's nice for having that Ghost Visage spamming. I would suggest go for Gearwork, crit chance, crit damage, HP, defense, and flat damage. Flat damage is amazing as a stat. Flat damage is the bomb. Cooldown reduction for your Relic active skill, as I said, but you might also want to get Relic regular skill cooldown if you can. And I would suggest stay away from Goldwork. HP regeneration per second is not bad, so that's also nice, but you really want chance to poison. You want chance to poison. I know you can poison with this, but it's always gonna be nice to have more. If you don't want chance to poison stacking with the Venomous Maw, then get chance to shock and additional bolts fired on shock, or chance to bleed or chance to burn, so you can stack the poison with the bleeding and burning. Keep in mind, poison is the damage over time that stacks up to 3 times. The other ones only apply 1 stack of bleeding or burning, and shock doesn't have that damage over time, so it's just a crowd control plus damage kind of thing. So let's talk about some uniques that you might want in the Legendarium or to use. First, you want the Stormdriver Bow and Egg of Wonder. For the way I play things, Stormdriver Bow, Egg of Wonder are great. Another thing that would be nice once it gets fixed, the Musketeer Rope. But right now, +1 to skill level to X skill or X skills does not work, so avoid those. Chronometer is not bad if you get it, if you use Revolt. If you're going for the Revolt build. Avoid this one because you're not using Heartseeker. Avoid this one, we're not using Explosive Arrow. Avoid this one, we're not using Scout's Bones. And avoid this one because we're not using Sacrifice to Goose. This one is not that bad, but it's okay if you have a good rolled one. The same goes for that one. If it's a good one, of course wear it, but this one is right now broken. This one is pretty nice, and we also see we already wear that. The Pantaloons, I would avoid using that. Of course, if it's a good rolled one and you just want to complete the set for some of the other bonuses, use it, but that's not gonna work for us greatly. Now this one, and this one, that's the 3 items you want to use. You want to either use this, or use a one-handed weapon and the Shasta's Promise. You could end up using one of those, or 2 of those, even 3 of those with the Legendarium. You might end up putting Egg of Wonder together with Rifle Leadership and Shasta's Promise in the Legendarium, and then use Stormdriver, or just switch things around. But ideally I would suggest get 1, 2, 3, 4. One of them you want to wear, the other one you want in the Legendarium. And that's the thing here. All 4 of those, you cannot combine either one with the other, because they all take a weapon slot or an offhand slot. And neither of them is a one-handed weapon, so yeah. A good alternative would be cast any precision skill, 10% chance to fire Heartseeker for free. I'm not sure whether that fires Heartseeker with all the bonuses you've got specced into it though, because you're not gonna be specking much into it, if any at all. So it's still not bad. If you get a good rolled one, of course use it. And this one I would probably avoid because we're not using Scatter Shot. There's other things you could consider, such as, for example, ideally I would have a Bone Blocker and Bone Razor. This is super nice. If you have Bone Blocker and Bone Razor, combine it with Egg of Wonder, and then put probably I would probably suggest putting if you have to sacrifice something, I would sacrifice the Rifle of Leadership, and I would use Egg of Wonder, Shasta's Promise, Storm Driver, and then wear the Boneblocker and Bone Razor, so I can get the other 3 bonuses in the Legendarium. The other stuff I wouldn't suggest. There's other good things while leveling. Godsbeard Dwarf is nice. If you don't have Egg of Wonder, Quicksilver is not bad. The Wanderer's Hood also isn't bad if you want to be a bit more spammy with your mobility skills. So there are some other things you might want to consider, but for now I would avoid using most of the other things you're seeing over here. About the pets, I mean, just get whatever you're using. If you're going for a poison zone, this one's not bad. If you're going for the Goblin Frontier, this one's not bad. This one, the Novas are amazing, so if you get one of those, use them. If you get both of them, even better. If you get those two at the same time and then you get something that helps you with the cooldown of the pet, you want that synergy. If you want to be more of a summoner, you can get this one. This one is perfect for the summoner setup. This one is also nice synergy for our Bane build, Contagion. So there's a lot of good things. Token of Invigoration is also a good combo with one of the auras, one of the Novas. And if you're farming, Token of Rapid Bartering is amazing. So I think that's pretty much enough info for the items. Keep sending me questions as comments if you think something was missed. If you have some more questions, I would be happy to answer those. Let's show you some gameplay footage now to top things off. So here we are at the gameplay segment where I talk more about how I rotate my skills, what the order I prefer using those in is, and just in general about showing you more gameplay footage just to see the build in action. At the end of this segment, I would warn you before that there will be a boss fight, the final boss of Act 2, so if you don't want to spoil yourself, just be ready for the warning. So as you can see, my rotation is summoning the Wolf and the Goblin Legion, and then maybe using the Curse, and I would try to use the Blink if it's ready, the Ghost Visage to buff up my Onslaught before using Onslaught. I might use the Spider before that, or sometimes I would just forget about using Ghost Visage and just start on DPSing without it. But in general, the best rotation would be get both summons up, do a Ghost Visage, and then start spamming Onslaught and the spiders, and use the curse to make the enemies do 30% less damage. If you're using revolt instead of the curse, use it when you have no ammo or when you have no charges for Ghost Visage. I haven't tested whether it would actually help with the Ghost Visage regaining charges, but it used to before. Another thing you could do is, if you're not using this curse but using the Rizzi curse, you would want to use it ASAP together with the other summons to get that Rizzi summon if you have it equipped. But in general, that's kind of the rotation. So in a few seconds the boss fight will be coming up with a Sadista, so if you wanna stop watching, now would be the best time, or you can just skip to the end. But yeah, let's show you now that boss fight. So here it is. It took like a minute and 15-14 seconds to kill her with this weapon. I killed her around the same time with a slightly weaker weapon, but I did my rotation better there even with the lower weapon. In general, she's a boss that you kind of have downtime. You can see a few seconds she's not attackable, she's invulnerable, and I'm waiting for her to show up. So I think a minute kill time is not bad. You can see the burst is nice even with mediocre items equipped. So I can tell you this build, when properly geared up on high levels, on ridiculous, it would be nice. It may not be as strong as a targeted shots reload build meta, but it definitely is something to look out for, especially when you have that synergy with that upgraded Onslaught from the Storm Driver bow, or maybe more summons and so on. So I hope the build helps many of you throughout the leveling and that you will enjoy playing it. If you wanna get notified for more content about this game or others like it, or various different types of RPGs, say RPGs, tactical RPGs, all sorts of RPGs, or other types of wooters, you could subscribe to my channel, get that bell button clicked to not miss those notifications. Thanks again for watching the video, folks. Keep it cool, and until next time, goodbye.